One thing I want to actually write a test for is error messages. So an example of that would be, let's create an activity. And if we go down here and if I just click create activity, this shows up. So I actually want to style this real quick, but I also want to make sure that this appears in general. So what I'm going to do here is, what did I call this? I think I call this form errors. And I think what I'll do here is, to make it easy to test, I'm going to wrap this in a div. And I'm going to give it an ID of probably just form errors. And then I'll give it a class of, I'll use Bootstrap here. I think I'll just do alert and alert danger. And I think that should style it and good enough for me. So that'll take care of it on the pages that we make, so for activities and anything else in the future. Let's see if I refresh this. Create an activity, if I go here. So that's good. Maybe I'll make this, instead of an H3, like a H5. It's a little big. And the other thing I want to do is, if I log out, and let's say I want to sign up, and if I just don't fill anything out, this is displayed, but this is actually being rendered from a totally different partial. Let's see if I can find it. So devise, registration, so new registration. So it's actually rendering this partial here, and this is actually getting pulled from the devise gem file. So if I were to go into devise and shared, all I have is links. The error messages is actually being pulled from the gem file, and I don't have an easy way to style that, and it'd be nice if the error partial was just the same throughout. So what I think I'll do is, first, let's just write a test to make sure the errors display for both activities and user sign up. So let's do a system test for activities first, and should render form errors. And what we'll do here is, we'll just sign in as a user. We'll visit, let's just kind of copy what we have. So visit new activity path, but we'll leave everything blank because we know that it will error out. And then we should just do, I'm going to do assert selector, but instead of a paragraph tag, I'm really just going to do, I'm going to do form errors, because that's what we call it here. So then I can just do assert selector, that, and then I'll even run take screenshot. And this is a method that comes with, I think it's Capybara, and this will just take a screenshot of what it sees on the page, which is kind of nifty. So if we clear this out, new Rails T test system activities test, but then go to line 50. So it passed, and it also took a screenshot. So this is good, and we can actually see what it looks like with an H5 instead of an H3. So that take screenshot method can be helpful. It saves you a little bit of time. So that's there. Actually, just want to make sure, what if I just do error? I just want to make sure that this is actually doing what I think it's doing. Sometimes I make tests fail on purpose just to make sure they're not passing for the wrong reasons or failing for the wrong reasons. Okay, so that's working. So we have that. The next thing I want to do is, I want to go back to our user test. We'll do one simple one, which should be very similar, which should be should render form errors. And what we'll do here is visit the new registration path, and we'll just click sign up. And very similar to the previous test we did, let's just do assert that there's form errors, which we know this is going to fail actually because the partial that renders for the user's views is a different partial, and I don't actually think it has this class on there or that ID. And finally, we can do take screenshot, clear this out, Rails T test system users. That's on line 45. Okay, so that failed. If you take a look at the screenshot, we see that errors did display. It's just it didn't have this class, but this is good. So now we know we have a test for this. And what I'm gonna do, which isn't always the best idea, but I think I'm just gonna do a search and replace. But let me go into activities. So this is what we want to do. We want this partial. And let me close all this out. Got way too many things open here. Maybe I won't do a find and replace, but if you go to, let's start with registrations. So let's just replace this with that and run the same test. And because we took a screenshot, so this is good, so it's styling it consistently. That's good. I think what we can do is just go in here and probably just do a search and replace. So let's just do that. A little risky, but we also wrote a test. And let's actually run our whole test suite now just to make sure everything's cool. So those are all passing. Let's just do a quick system test. So those are all good. Only thing is I want to probably remove this take screenshot method here. It's not that it's a bad thing, you can leave it in, but it's going to take a screenshot of the page and we don't really need to do that. Let me just make sure I also remove that method from here. So I did that, so that's good. So we're in a good working state. Let's commit this. I'll just say use same partial to render form errors and write system tests for form errors. Kind of a long commit message, but that's okay. And we can push this up. And I think that's a good place to leave off for now.